The following are the words of Lou Savello, president of the Suffolk County Police Benevolent Association.
Police officers risk their lives to protect our communities and keep our streets safe. These officers are the thin blue line that stands between your family and the criminals that would do them harm. We are your neighbors, protecting your neighborhood. Hold the line. Support law enforcement. Stand with the Suffolk County PBA.
The following radio show is live, except for the announcement you're hearing right now.
Welcome back to Your Island Live with your host, Tom Schiliro, on 103.9 LI News Radio.
And once again, welcome back, moving right along. Now we're starting to get used to it, folks. Every other week we have with us our great Suffolk County Police Commissioner. As you know, we highlight the Suffolk County Police Department in many different aspects, as well as the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Errol Toolan's with us also every other week, as well as District Attorney Ray Tierney. So we get a real good look and a good conversation about our criminal justice agencies, particularly our great Suffolk County Police Department. And this is the Tuesday at the 12:35 hour for Police Commissioner Kevin Catalina. A lot to talk about. Kevin, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Tom. How about you?
Doing well. I mean, a lot going on. I know this was a big week with the police week, and of course we're heading up to Memorial Day and so on. I understand you were down there and can give us really an impression. So much happens all across this country. Our police officers make sacrifices. I follow it all the time. You know, they have the end of the watch, and it's so sad. A lot of times I won't read it because I get just too depressed. And you see the acts of heroism, and it, you know, certainly Suffolk County, Nassau County, New York City on the East Coast, just a key elements of those that have that will sacrifice not just injury, but their lives. In addition to the fact that just do the job every single day. Your thoughts about, once again, Police Commissioner Kevin Catalina, your thoughts about National Police Week?
I think it's fantastic that, it's done at a national level, and it really highlights the heroism of, law enforcement in general. And, I think when you become part of that really tragic club where you lose a loved one, it's heartening to know that there is a group out there that comes together and honors your loss and your loved one's sacrifice. And I think it makes them feel better. And it's important for us to be down there with the fallen families. And it's a very moving ceremony. And matter of fact, I just came back from the troopers ceremony that they had today, their memorial. I shouldn't call it ceremony, their memorial. And, it was moving as well. They do a fantastic job of it. So, it's very nice to see.
Yeah, the question is that in many cases we could look at academy classes, and these are the rookies, so to speak, the people that many of them, when they were in high school, thought about law enforcement as a career and end up pursuing that. You have opportunities here on Long Island. You have opportunities, of course, in New York City, in the state law enforcement, the state troopers, and so on. But when they go to the Suffolk Police Academy, it's different now. It's different now in the third decade of the 21st century. You're a veteran of many years, and you're a veteran of different agencies, also yourself. So you have that. You have that in your DNA, as do many of us. The question is, how do we prepare, in your minds? What is the best preparation that can be made so that our officers, number one, stay safe, but at the same time have that situational awareness, so that maybe we'll never have to, and I'm thinking, again, we will never have to have a memorial or something like that, and maybe I'm thinking too far and too unrealistic about it. But the question is, how do you prepare? How do you prepare these young men and women today? In this, again, I'll repeat it, the third decade of the 21st century, for a career in law enforcement as they enter, let's say, the Suffolk Police Academy, and to prepare themselves on what lies ahead?
I think it's train. And I think we do a better job of it than we ever did. I mean, we're evolving in law enforcement, and the training is evolving as well. And we have the ability to learn from mistakes and examine past situations. And I think we do a good job of that. And again, I think this is every year the training gets better, and this is the best generation trained officers we've ever had. And hopefully, that we'll prevent the tragedy someday. Listen, there's tragedies that I just think you can't prevent. We are in this, terrible world where active shooters have become almost commonplace. We saw what happened tragically, out in California yesterday. So, this is something that, law enforcement has to deal with on a daily basis. And again, I've been preaching this for years and years, and I don't think you need to preach it anymore. But, if you come upon a situation like that as a law enforcement officer, you have to mitigate the threat, right? Immediately. That's your job. You got a gun and a bulletproof vest, and, there's no time to wait for, emergency service or reinforcements. If you're solo in a patrol car, hey, that's your job. You got to go do it. And they know that, and they will do that. And honestly, we saw a case down in Florida where I think a deputy didn't do that, and I think that guy should rot in jail for the rest of his life. But that's besides the point. I know our officers in Suffolk County would never back down from a situation like that. So can we prevent every tragedy? I don't think we can, but we can train them the best, to the best of our ability. And I think we do a really, really good job of that. We have an inspector in a deputy inspector in our academy now named Mike Toplansky, and very innovative. He's brought a lot of new stuff with him, a lot of new ideas, and yeah, we're happy about it. But we got to train him, Tom. We got to train him well.
Yeah. I sometimes feel, I'm so gratified when I meet some of the new officers that have gone through just recently, the Suffolk County Police Academy. And they're a different breed, Kevin, in such a positive way. I love the history of the Suffolk Police Department. I love the fact that it opened its doors in 1960. Could you believe that? And what the academy was back then, and how it moved forward. I know I went through in the mid '90s, and how it's changed quite a bit. So we're evolving with the times. You're head of an organization that has reached that evolution of getting the best and the brightest. And in the end, and you can listen to the phone calls that come into this program when we open up the phones. It's all praise. It's all praise for the new men and women of our police department and what they're capable of doing. But we can never lose the sight, as you have indicated, is that they have signed on to run into danger. While we're all running away and taking cover, they're running into danger. And they have the training and the confidence in themselves. But the most important thing is to keep the folks safe. Is that a fair evaluation in your mind?
Yeah, it is. And they understand the mission. And again, they signed up for it. And it's a valiant mission and an honorable one. And I know, again, every, man and woman who works for the Suffolk County Police Department is going to, do exactly that. So, yeah, I'm proud of them. Listen, they keep getting younger and younger in my eyes, but I know that's not true. It's just that I'm getting older and older. But I think we have a lot of advantages now. We're a very, very young police department. The people that have stayed around are people that want to stay around. And so we have some great mentors and trainers at the very, very top. And then at the bottom, right, we have this, a group of young officers between 6 months and 5 years on the job, right? That's the majority of our job. And they're so moldable. And listen, I think even more importantly, they're happy to be here, right? This is a great place to work. Suffolk County appreciates their cops. They do well. The unions have done a phenomenal job for them over the years. So they're happy to be here. I spent 27 years working in the NYPD, and
wow.
The common joke was I never saw the morale this bad. Well, I saw that from 1992 until I left in 2019, 20 whatever it was. So the morale seemed to always be bad, right? And if you talk to I hate to say it because it's a great organization, the NYPD, with great cops, and they do phenomenal things. But it always seemed that oh man, this is terrible. This sucks and blah, 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 blah. You don't get that in Suffolk County. The people in Suffolk County, the cops in Suffolk County are happy to be here, and they're proud of the work they do and proud to serve the, people of Suffolk County.
And I'm glad we have this opportunity to say this. I know that's a general theme of this program, is to try to highlight what law enforcement does. And I'm talking about our deputies. I'm talking about our East End departments. and certainly the Nassau County Police Department in New York City. You spent that many years. I wasn't aware that you spent that many years with NYPD. Just an incredible. I've always found them to be an incredible organization, in spite of the fact of what you say is true, that there was a lack of morale that did take place. And I think that's something that we need to change. We as a society, I think that's important. National Police Week, excuse me. My hope is that there should be no partisanship when it comes to that. And I would hope that the support of the national police work and also the recognition of our great men and women in law enforcement goes past party lines. It's not Democrat. It's not Republican. It's the common thread, the common denominator of how important policing is in America. Can we say that is true?
I like to believe it is. I think, I'll just speak on Suffolk County. We have fantastic legislators, assembly people, our county executive and his team. They're fantastic. I can't say enough good things about all of our elected officials in Suffolk County. And regardless of what party they represent, very, very supportive out here. And I've worked very closely with both sides of the aisle. And, so in Suffolk County, I think things are fantastic. And we have a lot of level-headed, intelligent people who understand the value of safety and understand the value of all law enforcement in Suffolk County. And you're right, that goes for not only the Suffolk County Police Department, but the Sheriff's Office, all of our East End departments who do a phenomenal job. So I think, collectively, as state troopers, we all are supported, by our elected officials and lucky to be out here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. It's just that my hope in the near future is that we can start to move away from the negativism that's occurring on a national basis. And you are so correct about locally here. We're very lucky. In fact, I say that many times to our listening audience. You're just lucky to be living in Suffolk County and having the great Suffolk County Police Department. If you're just joining us, by the way, folks, we have Police Commissioner Kevin Catalina, Suffolk County Police Commissioner, with us. He takes time out from his busy schedule to be with us every other week. So I just want to make note of that. So what's on tap? I've always found that all of a sudden when Memorial Day hits and right after that Memorial Day, it's all of a sudden, Commissioner, the summertime. And as you know from your many years, it gets a little busier in the summer. Is there any plans on how to move forward on the summer of 2026, which is, by the way, the summer of America 250?
Yeah. I remember the 200th very well. So when I did, and I'm dating myself there, but we're excited for it. It's going to be a big summer for sure. There's a few things that we do, out here. We're an island surrounded by water. Our Marine Bureau, they do a phenomenal job, but we increased the size of our Marine Bureau, with some seasonal officers. So I think we put 9 in already. And then I believe the end of June, we put another 11 in. I might have those numbers switched around, but we're significantly increasing that. We're actually committing to a 24-hour coverage up on the North Shore, up in the Port Jeff area. So we cover 16 hours now, but we're going to have a boat operational up on the North Shore for a full 24 hours, starting this year. So that's new. We increased the size of our highway team significantly as well. So with seasonal people and some overtime that we bring in to make sure that the roadways stay safe. So it's quite a bit we do. We put some foot posts out in the villages. We're doing something new in Huntington this year, and Lindenhurst. We're going to have foot posts out there, in their the areas where we see a lot of bar traffic and stuff like that. So that's going to be a little new, but we're certainly aware of the increase in the population this summer and the increase in activity, and we are ready for it, and we're looking forward to it.
I just got a text message, somebody about foot patrols. Yay. I mean, they're happy about that. Why do you think people like foot patrols? I mean, that is almost a blast from the past, Commissioner, but I know when I say we, I mean the Suffolk Police Department has been doing that. But the reaction that you get from the folks on a foot patrol.
So funny, when I grew up in Sable, and we had Officer Joel. Officer Joel walked the foot post in Sable for years, and he was a guy everybody could count on. From, a kid, if you were a bad kid, you didn't want to see Officer Joel, but if you were a good kid, you could talk to him, you could, run a problem off him. The businesses loved it. You get to know that cop, really almost on a personal basis, and they really become the problem solver for the area. There's things you could see on a foot post that you can't see when you're driving around in a car. There's things you can smell. There's things that you can hear, whether it be smoke from a fire or a fight that might be occurring in the park, that you can't see from, a police car. All of those things, are kind of nuances that a foot post really has that somebody in a car doesn't. And just a quick story, right? Going back to that Officer Joel. I remember I was hanging out in the park, in Broadway Park, with a couple of friends when I was maybe 14 or 15. And all of a sudden we see this guy running, for his life. And we're like, wow, what's going on here? And then, 10 seconds behind him, here comes Joel running after him. And I'll never forget that. And I remember saying to myself, wow, that is the most awesome thing I've ever seen. This guy's running away and the good guy's trying to catch him in uniform. And he caught him, right? And it was great. Yeah. I remember thinking to myself at that young age, that's something that I could really see myself doing. You don't really know what you want to do when you're, in junior high school, but that really made an impact on me and had an impression, or made an impression on me that I never forgot. And, I really credit him to, maybe pushing me in the direction of law enforcement. So if he didn't catch the guy, I wouldn't have become a cop, but he caught him. So.
that is amazing. I have a smile ear to ear listening to that story, because it really shows you where the bedrock of law enforcement is. And the mere fact that this summer, the folks will again be able to see some of those foot patrols and so on. We've gotten too technical. We live in a world now with AI and of course, I know in my last years in law enforcement, the pens seem to disappear. You don't write anything anymore. It's all on the computer. The reports are all filed by pressing a button and so on. Have we lost something with that, or that's just technology and it's made policing better?
Listen, I'm an old school person, so I like the pen and paper. That's how I take my notes. And but I think if we can free the cops up to do more, and if technology allows them to do that, patrol more, be out in the street more, be out interacting with the public more, then I guess it's a win. But I guess old school people like us tend to think it should be the way it was. So I hear what you're saying, but I think we in law enforcement we have to think about safety, and if that allows them to do their jobs more efficiently, then I'm all for it. So.
Well, the filing of reports was so much different after the introduction. As you know, what am I saying this to you for? I mean, you command that whole thing. But I could remember, though, instead of just making all your files up and having them all piled up and then handing them to the road sergeant, you essentially would press a button and it would go off, and the computer would send it off. You said something that I had to laugh at. You said about the ages of the new officers, and I had met some of your new officers, and we were talking. They had asked me, when did I go through the academy? And I told them 1995. And one of the officers said, well, that was 6 years before I was born. And when you think about that, you think about, how it feels when you get old and so on. And you think about how time has passed. But it's all been an evolutionary process. And I think it's all been all for the good. We just have 30, 40 seconds left. This experience that you have.
Quick. Yeah. Real quick, one thing I wanted to get out, and Lou Savello will be mad at me if I don't. One of the problems we're facing in law enforcement, when you talk about technology, is the ability for bad people to take our information in law enforcement and exploit it. And we just had a case in the 3rd Precinct where this was done to one of our officers. So it's something for the public to be aware of. And honestly, I think we're going to need to work on some legislation to change it. And in this case, some perp that was arrested by one of our cops was able to get a hold of this cop's wife's cell phone number, AI, however you want to do it, right, and make some salacious outlandish claims to the wife about this cop. Now, thankfully, this idiot was arrested and charged with aggravated harassment. But that technology has allowed people to, again, exploit us in a way that's very, very dangerous and very troubling. So it's just something for everybody to understand. And we are going to be looking, for some help from our elected officials to kind of counteract some.
And Commissioner, we're going to take that up here on this program because that is something that is that important. Once again, Police Commissioner Kevin Catalina. We'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks. Thanks, Kevin.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. Take care.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. When we get back, let's talk to Senator Murray for a bit. Then we'll take some phone calls. And then we got to go right to the county executive. We'll be right back.